That Friday night began much like any other, except I'd been anticipating it all week. Work had drained me, and I imagined we could escape for dinner, share some laughs, and feel close again. Instead, when I walked through the door, the living room sat silent and empty. The only thing waiting for me was a brief note on the table: going out with the girls. Don't wait up. A knot formed in my chest. This wasn't the first time she'd made plans without telling me, but lately, it was becoming a regular thing. She seemed distant, uninterested in conversation, always absorbed in her phone, and finding reasons to avoid evenings with me. I tried calling, but she didn't answer. Minutes later, a text popped up: "Relax, I'm with friends. I'll be late." I stared at the message, a mix of frustration and sadness building inside me. I'd never been the jealous type, but being excluded again and again, without even a simple discussion, made me feel invisible. Over the past few weeks, I'd started to see a pattern. Every Friday night, she and her friends ended up at the same high-end restaurant, indulging in fancy meals and cocktails as if it were a celebration. And each time, my credit card was the one covering the bill. That morning, I had spotted the most recent statement tucked in her purse. The charges weren't small, but this wasn't just about money, it was about what it represented. She enjoyed the lifestyle my hard work made possible, yet seemed unwilling to actually share it with me. That stung far worse than the dollar amount. So when she mentioned yet another girls' night, I simply smiled and said, "Sure, enjoy yourself." By then, I already knew exactly what I was going to do. The plan was simple, but it had teeth. Once she sat down to order with her friends, she'd discover her lavish evening wasn't going to be paid for on my dime. That night, I watched her leave in her favorite dress, heels tapping across the floor with confidence. 10 minutes after she walked out, I opened my banking app and froze her credit card. I could already picture the expression on her face when the waiter returned with the news. She wanted independence on her own terms. Well, I was about to show her what that really felt like. The rooftop bar she went to was alive with laughter, clinking glasses, and the faint scent of expensive perfume. Guests were dressed to impress, and the place hummed with energy. Her friends greeted her with hugs and excited chatter, already swapping stories and snapping photos for Instagram. I knew this was her scene, surrounded by admirers who loved her beauty and envied the life she displayed, in a world where status was currency. Sliding into a booth, she wore a smile that seemed rehearsed, the kind meant to say, "Look at me, I'm living the dream." When the waiter arrived, she confidently handed over the card I had just cancelled. The first warning sign came when his machine failed to connect. He tried again, keeping his polite smile, but the transaction was declined. Her composure wavered. She swiped it once more, hoping it was just a glitch. Her friends noticed, their chatter fading into uneasy glances. "You okay?" one asked softly, suspicion in her voice. She nodded, though her fingers shook slightly as she attempted the card again. The waiter returned with an apologetic look. "Sorry, ma'am. It's not going through." For the first time that night, her confident facade cracked. Her friends exchanged awkward smiles, some whispering while others simply looked at her, puzzled. Her cheeks flushed, not just from the cool rooftop breeze, but from the sting of public embarrassment. Excusing herself to the restroom, she left behind half-finished drinks and curious stares. Behind closed doors, her phone lit up with missed calls and unread texts from me. She didn't respond. I imagined the panic tightening in her chest as she realized I had taken away the one thing she counted on to fuel her double life: financial freedom without accountability. When she returned, she pasted on a forced smile, but the damage was done. The whispers didn't stop, and even the photo she tried to post online looked hollow. I didn't have to be there to see it. Mutual friends relayed every detail. That night wasn't just humiliating for her, it was a turning point. The next morning, the air in the house felt heavier than any argument we'd ever had. She avoided my eyes, moving slowly as if weighed down by the night before. When I asked about the card, she gave a stiff smile and said, "I'm not sure, maybe a bank error." But I knew better. Over the following days, I saw subtle changes. She went out less often. Her laughter grew softer, her focus scattered. We began talking again, though every conversation felt like walking on thin ice, careful, measured, and fragile. Eventually, she admitted the truth: how much she had relied on the life I provided, how she'd taken it for granted, and how humiliated she'd been when it all collapsed in front of her friends. It had never really been about the money, it was about respect, honesty, and partnership. I told her that trust isn't built on luxury dinners or designer labels, but on facing life together, sharing both the joys and the burdens. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks, finally recognizing the price of her choices. That night became a pivot in our relationship. We saw clearly how the comfortable routines we'd slipped into were wearing away our foundation. We decided to rebuild, slowly, with open conversations, shared responsibilities, and time spent together without distractions or secrets. I never told her that canceling the card had been my way of seeing if she valued us beyond appearances. A relationship isn't a showpiece, it's a commitment that demands respect and care. It cost us both something that night, but it was a price worth paying if it meant salvaging what was real. Sometimes, tough love is the only thing that can shake someone awake from an illusion. And in that moment of embarrassment followed by truth, we found a chance to start again.